Dear students, today's topic is applications of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. In the last class, we discussed on Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. The three mathematical forms of uncertainty principle are delta px, delta x greater than or equal to h bar by 2, delta L, delta theta greater than or equal to h bar by 2, and delta E, delta T greater than or equal to h bar by 2. These things we discussed, we had seen in the last class. Now, what are the applications of this Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? There are two applications. The first one is estimation of spread of spectral lines. We know that whenever the electrons in an atom, they excite, they go to the higher energy state. From there, de-excitation takes place. The electron comes back to the original ground state. During this process, a radiation is emitted. A radiation or a spectral line is emitted. Whenever an excited electron gets de-excited, during this process, an energy radiation is emitted, and this is nothing but the spectral line. And the energy, suppose let E be the energy of the electron in the excited state, and let the electron be remains in that state for a time say t. Now delta E and delta T, they represent the errors in the measurement of energy E and error and that of the time t. So that Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is delta E into delta T is h bar by 2 nothing but h by 4 pi. Now using this, let us find out the spreading of the spectral lines. And in this phenomena, it is said that the emitted spectral line contains only one frequency. It's the monochromatic one. But actually it is not so. There will be the spreading of that frequency. The frequency changes by a very small value. This is nothing but the spreading of the spectral line. It is explained by this principle, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. See here, delta E, delta T is h by 4 pi. From this, we get delta E as h by 4 pi into delta T. But the energy of the emitted spectral line, is given by h nu. This energy is nothing but E2 minus E1. E2 energy in the excited state, E1 energy in the ground state. E2 minus E1 comes out in the form of the radiation having energy h nu. Nu is the frequency of that radiation. So E equal to h nu. So that delta E, it is nothing but h into delta nu. Delta nu, the error in the measurement of that frequency of the spectral line. So substitute delta E as h delta nu. You get h delta nu equal to h by this. H gets cancelled. From this we get delta nu as 1 by 4 pi delta T. So that this delta nu is nothing but error in the measurement of the frequency. So that this implies the frequency, actual frequency is not nu, but it changes by a very small value. That is delta nu. The frequency of the radiation, it may be nu, or it may be nu plus delta nu, or it may be nu minus delta nu. This is the frequency spreads a little on either side of the original frequency. This is the spreading of the frequency of the spectral line about or around the original frequency. And this is how Heisenberg principle explains the spreading. The spreading in terms of lambda, it is given by delta lambda is minus lambda square by 4 pi c delta t. We have seen nu is c by lambda. C is nu lambda, nu is c by lambda. From this, delta nu becomes differentiate minus c by lambda square delta lambda. So that we get delta lambda as minus lambda square by 4 pi c delta t. This is about the spreading. One more application is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. It also explains that electrons cannot exist inside the nucleus. A nucleus of an atom consists of protons and neutrons, and electrons, they do not exist in the nucleus. But in a phenomena like natural radioactivity, heavy elements exhibit this natural radioactivity phenomena. They emit certain radiation spontaneously. During this radioactive emission, it is a nuclear phenomena. Radiations are emitted from the nucleus. During this process, emission of alpha particles as well as beta particles are observed, and beta particles are identified as electrons So it is a nuclear phenomena. So beta particles are the radiations coming from the nucleus. Beta particles are identified as the electrons. So electrons coming from the nucleus, how it is possible? If electrons do not exist, if they do not pre-exist inside the nucleus, how come this emission takes place? How come the electrons are observed during beta emission? Say this non-existence of electrons inside the nucleus explained by uncertainty principle like this. We have here radius of the nucleus. Nuclear radius value is 10 power minus 15 meter. So that if electron exists inside the nucleus, suppose electron exists inside the nucleus, then it's the position of finding the electron inside the nucleus equal to the position. The position value delta x can be taken as diameter of the nucleus 2 times this value. That is delta x. Now, uncertainty principle is delta Px, delta x is h bar by 2. From this, delta Px is h bar by 2 delta x or delta Px is h by 4 pi delta x. H bar is h by 2 pi. Substituting the values of h, delta x, 4 pi, these are the values, h, 4 pi and delta x is taken as the diameter of the nucleus, and when we simplify this, the value comes out to be 2.64 into 10 power minus 20 kg meter per second. Momentum of the electron. If electron exists inside the nucleus, its momentum comes out to be this much. And this, if we approximate the momentum of the electron to this delta Px, actually it is the error. If this error value is approximated to momentum of the electron inside the nucleus, then kinetic energy of the electron inside the nucleus, formula is p square by 2m. Substitute p as this. M is mass of the electron, p square by 2m, and this is to convert joule into eV. And when we simplify, we get the value energy. Kinetic energy of the electron, when if it is inside the nucleus, 2390 MeV. When you simplify this. But say this expression, this value, what it says is, if electron exists inside the nucleus, it should possess a kinetic energy of the order of 2390 MeV. But during beta decay or during emission of radiations, beta particles from the nucleus, it is observed that particles, electrons having energy, a very low value of the order of 4 MeV are emitted. That 4 MeV, very, very small compared to this value. From this, it is concluded that the electrons, they cannot exist inside the nucleus. They cannot present in the nucleus. Since if they present, they should possess a very high energy, but such a thing was not observed during beta decay. That's why the conclusion is electrons cannot present in the nucleus. These are the applications. When these two applications are discussed, so the next part is about electron microscope. What a microscope is? The instrument which is used to get the enlarged image of a very small object. And you have studied about the optical microscope. This electron microscope, similar to optical microscope construction, but in case of electron microscope, electron beam is used to illuminate the given object, whereas in optical microscope, the visible light is used. And in electron microscope, to focus or to deflect the electron beam, magnetic lens or electric lens or magnetic lenses or electric lenses are used. But in optical microscope, glass lenses are used as the objective lens and the eye lens. Now the working principle of electron microscope is the wave nature associated with the electron. A moving electron, moving particle, de Broglie wave it is. Moving particle, the moving electron is associated with the wave, and if that electron is accelerated in a very high potential difference of the order of say 60,000 volt, then the wavelength of the wave associated with that electron, it will be of the order of 0.05 angstrom, 0.05 to 10 power minus 10 meter. Such a short wave is associated with the electron when it is accelerated in a very high potential difference of the order of 60,000 volt. If the wavelength is very small, in that case, see, we know that the resolving power of any microscope depends on the wavelength. Resolving power varies inversely as the wavelength. More is the resolving power is more means the wavelength is very small, or shorter wavelength resolving power is very high. Since the electrons are associated, moving electrons are associated with very short wavelength, the resolving power of that microscope will be very high. And this is the principle of construction of electron microscope. Since the wavelength of the electron beam accelerated in a very high potential is very small, the resolving power of this electron microscope is 10 power 5 times more than that of the optical microscope. So that is the advantage of this electron microscope. The resolving power is 10 power 5 times greater than that of the optical microscope. And the construction is, there is an electron source, electron gun, which emits electrons. That electron beam is focused using a magnetic condenser lens. This is a magnetic condenser lens. The electron beam is focused on the object. See, here is the object. On that object, that electron beam is focused using magnetic condenser lens. Then the image of this object is formed by this magnetic objective lens. Here the magnetic objective lens which focuses or which produces the image of this object. It is the virtual image of the object is produced. And further, the magnetic projector lens, similar to the eye lens in our optical microscope, similar to the eye lens, the eyepiece, which produces the enlarged image, real enlarged image. So this is real, the erected image, the magnified erected image of the object is formed. This is the final image produced on the fluorescent screen. This is how electron microscope produces the magnified image of the object with very high resolving power. And this is about the electron microscope. In electron microscope there are two types: scanning electron microscope and transmission electron microscope, SEM and TEM. SEM, scanning electron microscope, which scans the surface. Whereas TEM, transmission electron microscope, it gets transmitted inside, it gives the picture of the interior portion of the object which is under study. And the electron microscope, it has found applications in the field of medicine, in the field of biology, in the field of physics, in the field of industry. In all these fields, this electron microscope is used. And with this, I stop here. Let us continue the class with another topic. Thank you.